welcome to you all. Thank you for coming. It's a lovely day out there. Those of you here in the church and all of you Zoomers, if we have Zoomers, joining us online. Also those who might later be watching the recording on YouTube, you are all welcome here. However you are feeling, whatever your faith or religion, or even if you have none, all are welcome here in this, our Unitarian Church. And now, as is our custom, I'll begin this time of prayers, readings, and hymns by lighting our chalice flame as a symbol of our free religious faith. The chalice prayer I've chosen is The Liberal Light by Cliff Reed. We kindle the light of our liberal faith. May it be the light of knowledge to dispel ignorance, the light of reason to dispel superstition, the light of love to dispel bigotry and inhumanity, no matter what their guise. And an opening prayer, The Universal Conscience by Cliff Reed. Whatever our qualities of faith concerning God, whatever name we use to praise the ultimate, whatever sacred way we claim to take, whatever sage or prophet we invoke, whatever avatar or epiphany we say commands our heart, it will suffice if we act rightly according to love and conscience. At the last, may their testimony witness to a life that healed and blessed the world as best it could, and in that may we be granted peace. And now we're going to have our opening hymn. Our opening hymn was chosen by Steve Finney as one of his favourites, and is a good one to open this service. It is hymn number 280 in the Green Hymn Book, and it's called Morning Has Broken, Stand If You're Able. The words obviously will appear on the screen. In the spring of 2023, I, along with a few other members of the congregation, took part in a study group led by our now retired Reverend Kate Wyman. The subject was being Unitarian and took the form of 3 sessions. The first, exploring our journey, the second, belief, and the last, practice. In preparation, we were asked to consider what we hoped to find by coming to church. We studied the origins of the Unitarian faith and read several pieces by various Unitarians, past and present, including Unitarian, What's That? By the Reverend Cliff Reed. I will quote a piece from one of them written by Marilyn Sewell, who is a retired Unitarian Universalist. She wrote, "We believe that human beings should be free to choose their beliefs according to the dictates of their own conscience. We believe in original goodness, with the understanding that sin is sometimes chosen, often because of pain or ignorance. We believe that God is one. We believe that revelation is ever unfolding. We believe that Jesus was a prophet of God and that other prophets from God have risen in other faith traditions. We believe that love is more important than doctrine. And lastly, we believe that God's mercy will reconcile all unto itself in the end." The writers varied in their views, and we discussed the writings at length. Our homework was to put into our own words our own spiritual journey. During the course, I wrote 3 pieces, which I titled Me and My Faith, Being Unitarian, and Awe and Wonder. We did have the opportunity to read our pieces out to Kate and our fellow students. Recently, I found a folder in the vestry which contains similar writings by other members of the congregation, past and present. I realised reading through them that most of the people are no longer of this world. The few that are still with us made really interesting reading. However, none were on the study group with me. I was going to ask anyone who wasn't included in this folder to add their pieces to it. As we were going to have a congregational service, I thought that this was an ideal opportunity to get everyone to contribute their thoughts on the subject of how we came to this church, and more importantly, what keeps us coming here. During this service, I will be asking members of the congregation to come up and read their pieces for us. To start us off, I'm asking Christelle to come up and read the words from the hymn Song of Peace, which is one of her favourites. It is sung to the music called Finlandia by Jean Sibelius that we heard playing as we came into church. The lyrics were written in 1934 by Lloyd Stone, and it is also called This Is My Song. A third verse was added in 1964, written by Georgia Harkness. Unfortunately, the third verse doesn't appear in the hymn book. So I'll ask Christelle if she'll come up and read all 3 verses for us. Thank you, Christelle.
This is my favorite hymn. This is my song by Lloyd Stone and Georgia Harkness. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating, with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine. May truth and freedom come to every nation. May peace abound where strife has raged so long, that each may seek to love and build together a world united, righting every wrong, a world united in this love for freedom, proclaiming peace together in one song. The third stanza is by Georgia Harkness.
Yeah. Thank you, Christa.
Thank you for listening.
They are lovely words, and I think when you hear them in a song, they get slightly buried. You don't hear the words very well. And that was lovely, Crystal, thank you. And now I'm going to ask Stephen to come up and read his piece for us.
After my many bad experiences in the Christian church, I vowed never to set foot in a church again. However, Margaret became aware of this church during the COVID lockdowns and she wanted to come. So I was her chaperone for the day. I was surprised at how warm the welcome was and at how friendly the people here are. I liked the fact that I was not judged about my beliefs and that people would listen to me. This is such a lovely church that I have been coming to this church for well over 3 years now.
Oh, well, thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Stephen. And now we'll have our second hymn, and it's hymn number 24 in the Purple Hymn Book, and it was chosen as Anne Cadder's favourite, and it's a favourite of most of us, so it's called Come Sing a Song With Me. Stand if you're able. Wow, thank you so much. And now I'm going to ask Anne Cadder if she'd like to come up and read her piece.
Well, I think nearly all of you know my story by now. I've been coming here for a long time.
Well, I didn't know it.
Okay. Well, when I moved down here nearly 20 years ago. I realised the other day, and when you said 3 years you've been here, I hadn't realised that either. I wanted to find a spiritualist church, as I'd been going to my spiritualist church in London for about 25 years, and I loved it there, and I am a spiritualist. Unfortunately, I wasn't keen on the spiritualist churches here in Plymouth. And I kept walking past our church, and there was a sign outside saying, "Everybody welcome." So I said to the lady outside, who I found out later was our lovely Sheila, "I'm a spiritualist. Can I come here?" Thinking she'd say no, because you get very funny, people think you're a bit odd if you're a spiritualist. And she invited me in, and I heard Christina's lovely husband, Richard Lovis, give a sermon, which I found really meaningful. Can't remember what it was about, but I know it really resonated with me. And the hymn, I do remember the hymn at that time. And yes, I loved the Come Bring a Rose, but my very, very favourite was the hymn from that sermon, We've a God Creator. And it's been one of my favourite hymns since. I also found out there was a Unitarian Psychical Society, which I joined, and I got to know the people who attended here, and I count you all as my friends. And so I came because of the interest in services, from Richard, the community of caring people, and it is in walking distance of where I live, which is a plus, and I've never left. That's my story, Linda.
Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Yeah, thank you, Anne. And now I'm going to ask Ashley to come up and read for us.
Well, I'm interested in the 3 years and the 20 years, and wait till you get to the end of this, and then do some maths. Now, I was asked to write something about how I came to join the Plymouth Unitarian Church. Now, I attended a small Church of England school in a village in Surrey, and I loved the days when the vicar came in and talked to the children about the parables and the stories of Jesus. However, I wasn't so enamoured when, as I grew up, I was expected to attend Sunday school, which inevitably led to actually leading Sunday school, as well as attending weekly, if you like, adult services. There was no way to escape, until I did. The habit of church had been so instilled into me that I searched out churches as I went through life. And by the time the early 1980s had come along, and by now only an occasional service attender, I wished to be married in a church as opposed to a registry office. And as the Church of England would not recognise marrying divorcees, my now ex-husband and I had to come up with a plan. And it was at this point that he remembered the connection his grandparents had had with this very church. So after an appointment with the Reverend John Story, the rest is history, as they say. I became a member and have attended ever since, albeit not quite so regularly these days. I've been Secretary of the Western Union, a keen attender of the annual meetings, and also Chair, Secretary and President of our own church. I only gave up most of these posts around the time my daughter was taken ill. After 4 years caring for her, I became older and a little more selective about what I chose to do, hence my rather more backstage appearances these days. The church, however, and what it represents, has always been a presence. I have learned a lot, met some lovely people, and enjoyed the stimulation that it provides. Its ethos of non-creedal and free thinking has been and still is of great value. I will continue supporting my church for as long as I am able, adding additional years to my already 45 years plus of membership. Beat that.
Yes, thank you, Anne. And I didn't realise how involved you were with the church until you'd written it down. Now I'm going to read the last two verses of another hymn. It's hymn number 233 in the Green Hymn Book. As I said, you can get the words better if you read them as a poem. This one, it goes, like tides on a crescent sea beach, when the moon is new and thin, into our hearts high yearnings come welling, surging in. Come from the mystic ocean, whose rim no foot has trod. Some people call it longing, and others call it God. A picket frozen on duty, a mother starved for her brood, and Socrates drinking hemlock, and Jesus on the rood. And millions who, though nameless, the straight, hard pathway trod. Some call it consecration, and others call it God. That was the words of the hymn called Others Call It God. This is mentioned by our former minister, the Reverend Kate Wyman, who was our minister from 2014 until she retired in 2024. It appears in the book Fragments of Holiness, and I'd like to read her words to you. The first Unitarian service that I ever attended included the hymn Others Call It God by William Herbert Currith. I was quite unable to sing it. The idea that God might be encountered in the high yearnings of our hearts, in a picket frozen on duty, or a mother starved for her brood, literally took my breath away and filled my eyes with tears. The words spoke to me of a divine power that finds expression through each one of us when we dare to live fully and fearlessly from the depths of our hearts and souls, when we willingly make sacrifices out of love and concern for others, and when we allow ourselves to be guided by spirit rather than merely by ego. In other words, when we live with integrity. The minister before Kate was Brian Packer from 2001 to 2009. He wrote the history of how this church building came to be built. It was published in May 2008, the year before his ministry ended, and the 50th anniversary of its opening on the 31st of May 1958. He called it From Chapel to Church, and there are several copies in the church library if anyone wants to get hold of one and read it. In it, he transcribes the now faded foundation stone located just under that window on the east wall. And it reads, "This stone was laid on the 13th of July, 1957, to mark the foundation of this chapel to be used for the worship of God in a spirit of religious liberty by the Plymouth Unitarian Congregation, which was established in the year 1662 and met in two successive chapel buildings situated in Treville Street, which is where the barcode is now, during the years 1689 to 1941. Also, to commemorate the removing in 1949 of the burial ground from the site adjoining the Treville Street Chapel to a common memorial garden at Efford Cemetery. The stone on the western wall, that's this wall, was removed from the ruins of the second chapel, destroyed on the 21st of March 1941 during the Second World War, and records the date 1831 when the first building was replaced. Unfortunately, he doesn't give us any personal details about himself, obviously a very modest man. And before him was Richard Lovis. And I'm going to read some of his words. He was the lay preacher from 1994 to 2001. He served many years before that in the church. He wrote, "But it's not about theology, is it? It's about fellowship too. Over the years, the members of this church have been a kind of second family for me, with all that word means in terms of caring, squabbling, forgiving, supporting, and yes, loving. I have tried to pull my weight as a family member. I have held every office, including the privileged one of being pastor. And I have done my share of most things, from polishing the floor to painting the ceiling." I don't think it would have been this ceiling. "I'm getting on a bit now, but as I look back at how, in my experience, the congregation here at Knott Street has treated its elderly members, I am confident that my presence here, my beliefs and my opinions will continue to have the respect and affection that a good family affords to its older members, while it also gets on with the important task of involving new members in its life and making the changes that changing times and generations require of a living church and fellowship." And before him, it was a lady, the Reverend Patricia Walmersley. She was minister from 1984 to 1992. And this is a piece she wrote. "Welcome to this church, where we are trying to create a living community, not on the basis of uniformity of belief, but out of our shared concern for the central and most significant issues of life and death. We ask only that you try to live from your own depths and respect others in theirs. In this church, you are free to believe what you honestly believe now, but you are also free to change your mind as you grow and develop. Our message, therefore, can never be finalised. Your personal religion is of ultimate importance. Don't let others decide for you what it is." And lastly, before her, was John Andrew Storey. From 1979 to 1984, he wrote the words to 32 hymns that appear in the Unitarian Green Hymn Book. But only 8 of these are on our system. I'm going to read the words of one of these, and it's hymn number 173. Its title is "The Fellowship of the Church." The church is not where... Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. The church is not where altar stands within the hallowed walls, but where the strong reach out their hands to raise the one who falls. Not stately building, standing fair, where people sing their creeds, but fellowship of loving care, which serves all human needs. The church is not where ancient rite is seen on Sabbath days, but wisdom's constant beam of light to guide our common ways. The church is me, the church is you, not mortar, brick and stone. It is with all who love the true and where true love is shown. Before our last 2 readings, we will have a few moments of quiet reflection to meditate on what we have heard so far, followed by a video. It's a video of Imagine, written by John Lennon and sung by people from various countries around the world. Thank you.
1, 2, 3. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Oh yeah. Imagine all the people living for today. Yeah. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, yeah, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us. Oh yeah, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of men. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, yeah, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one. Be as one. Imagine all of the people sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, oh yeah, but I'm not the only one. Not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, yeah, and the world will live as one.
Thank you. And now I'm going to ask Jill to come up and read her piece for us.
I came to this church via the Kathy because Anne and Christina kindly offered the walking group the Barbican Legends were thinking about setting up a place to meet up and finish their walk. The walk never materialised, but I stayed. I've always loved it being in church, but only when the vicar was absent. Reverend Kate changed all that, but I was astonished when she suggested I become a church member. The congregation were lovely people. I couldn't imagine they wanted me as a member. I'm not keen on parties, but I went to one. I often celebrated, not wisely, but far too well. I rarely called a spade a spade. I'm afraid it's still a bloody shovel, which isn't exactly dignified. Kate insisted I was wanted. So in October 2021, I joined. That was one of my better decisions. The congregation are still lovely people, but now I count many of them as valued friends, and this little church has a special place of peace and joy.
Thank you, Jill. We'll forgive you the. I'll forgive you. I'll forgive you the bloody. And now I'm going to ask Sheila to come up and read Steve Finney's piece for him. Sheila?
Steve, our dear technical expert. As you know, Steve writes wonderful services, but he doesn't like to come up and speak. And I feel really privileged that he chose me to read this piece. These are Steve's words. He writes, I began attending regularly in early 2019, drawn by the style of services, and became an official member on the 24th of October 2021. I joined because this church feels far more relaxed than others I have attended. This is largely due to its liberal and progressive outlook, both within the congregation and in the way services are conducted. Ours is among the most liberal denominations, comparable in many ways with the Quakers, with a strong commitment to inclusion and social justice, values that are so often less evident in more traditional churches. Here, you can truly be yourself. You are accepted on your own terms, warts and all, whereas in many other churches, acceptance can feel conditional. I genuinely feel a strong sense of community within this congregation. We care about one another in a real and meaningful way, even at times for those who test our patience. I would describe us as something of a Marmite church. Our style and attitude tend to inspire strong reactions, and not everyone connects with what we do. I have attended other churches in Plymouth, including Methodist Central Hall, St Andrew's Minster Church, just up the road there, and one in St Jude's. However, I have never quite experienced the same sense of belonging or acceptance as I do here. Many of us who attend regularly have stepped away from mainstream Christianity for a variety of reasons. That said, I have not left religion altogether. I still consider myself a spiritual person. I know that term can make some people, particularly atheists, groan because of how broad and ambiguous it is. Nevertheless, it is the best way I can describe how I feel. My spiritual journey has led me to this place, a church where I truly feel I belong. And Steve mentions hymns. He said, I'm not a fan of hymns, but I like this one, Morning Has Broken, which we sang earlier today, and a Christmas hymn, People Look East, in the Green Hymn Book 82. And a favourite reading, although we haven't had it today, is Psalm 23 from the Old Testament, known as the Hebrew Bible, The Lord is my shepherd. And thank you, Steve, so much for your contribution. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Steve, and thank you, Sheila, for reading it for him. Yes, he's always very good at putting things into words. I totally agree with what he said there. Now, our closing hymn, which I have chosen, it's my favourite and was also a firm favourite with our dear Thelma, who sang beautifully, but sadly, like many others, is no longer with us. It's hymn number 167 in the Purple Hymn Book, There Is a Place I Call My Own. Stand if you're able. The words will appear on the screen. Thank you so much. It always brings tears to my eyes, that one. Thank you. I would like to thank everyone who has contributed to today's service. I hope everyone here in the church or Zoom, later watching it on YouTube or reading the script on our website, has enjoyed all that has been written, sung and read by the present congregation and the former ministers of our church. I hope it has sparked your interest in finding out more about the Unitarian faith, and we look forward to maybe welcoming you into our church and our fellowship one day. This prayer is a recasting of words by Charles Dickens, written in 1844 as his tribute to the Unitarian Reverend Edward Taggart. Dickens admired Taggart greatly and attended his services, and the minister influenced Dickens's personal religious views. The letters of Charles Dickens mention Taggart frequently, describing him as a celebrated Unitarian minister and a very highly respected friend. May our religion have sympathy for people of every creed and venture to pass judgment on none. May the lessons of divine truth sink into our hearts and not be forgotten in our practice. And now, closing prayer before I extinguish our chalice flame. United God, who transcends our differences and holds us in your loving hands, we thank you for the spirit of goodwill and cooperation that you have brought to us today. Forgive our failures and be with us in our struggles to sense your will and to do it. As we part, let it be in love, with resolve to find a way forward for our communities of faith, and bless us as we go our homeward ways. That was by Cliff Reed, and it's called Parting in Love. Maybe rather than homeward bound, you might be staying to go on to the Barbican to enjoy what's left of Pirate Weekend. Now I'm going to extinguish the flame. Oops. Our closing video is the song Blue Boat Home by Peter Mayer, after which we will have our notices, and you are welcome then to join us for tea and coffee in the hall. Please do try to donate a small amount you can to our offertory. Thank you.